you. Thank you. Hi everyone. So, as you know, my name is Oliveira. I'm QA Automation Lead here at Devexperts. And tonight we are going to discuss a little bit about how to build robust automation strategy for Fintech. So let me just introduce myself a little bit. Well, I started on this career some time ago, and I have more than 10 years of experience with engineering and QA engineering. I'm Brazilian, so this means that I'm always smiling, as you can see. Even if I have to share bad news, sometimes I'm smiling. And I'm challenging myself here in Portugal since last year. And during my career, I have accomplished few certifications and degrees about development, testing, and management. So, our agenda, we will talk why is this topic relevant, why, right? And I will introduce our use case, which will follow us during the whole presentation. And I will discuss some aspects to be considered, right, about automation strategy. And so why is this relevant? You might know that if you are going to buy a coffee and you are going to pay with your card, your banking card, you have different systems, different platforms, different companies to deliver that message, transaction accepted, in few seconds, right? And so according to the Boston Consulting Group, the global financial service revenues in 2021 was around $12 trillion. And it's expected to be around $21 trillion until 2030. So it's a huge market, right? It's a huge market. And if we check Portuguese fintech market, we can see that the total funding ecosystem, fintech ecosystem, is around 1 billion. And it's increasing 10% since last year. And the market is getting more diverse, but still we have the most funding capital is allocated in blockchain and crypto. So this means that this huge market is challenged every year by new companies, new solutions, new technologies. So that's why I chose robustness to share here tonight, because I think robustness is the key factor in fintech. The whole fintech players depends on reliability and competitive time to market. And downtime or critical issues are really related with huge losses. And so that's why I think QA engineering in general is crucial to detect issues earlier and to avoid failures in production. So, and obviously, if you identify your issues earlier, probably you avoid, it's cheaper to fix them, right? And so, why robust automation? In this context, automation is a relevant tool because it helps you reduce time to market, keeping quality standards. And it helps you, this means robust automation means reliable results, and it means efficiency, avoiding rework, means reduced test flakiness, and it helps your functional QA team probably invest their efforts to test cases which are not automated yet. So this means that past test cases are okay, right? You can trust in your results. So that's why robust automation, it's really relevant. Now let me introduce our use case. Our client, it's a well-established US broker, and this client offers a trading platform, and it enables their clients to trade stocks, options, futures, Forex, and other different types of securities. And so the following automation strategy was designed for this client. Just to have an idea, this client in this platform, we have more than 12 million of accounts and more than 1 trillion worth of assets. We will discuss a little bit about platform design, quality process, data management, and source code management. So how these 4 items will affect our automation strategy. So let's start with platform design. I truly believe that platform design is really important, and you need to understand your platform design to choose best tools and practices to be applied to this platform. And so, for example, channels, you might have different UI user interfaces. You might have different user interfaces, and these different user interfaces might be developed with different technologies. And so the challenge is define proper technology to automate this different user interface. So, for example, if you have a mobile application, you need to decide if you are going to choose one framework and run this test case against 2 platforms, for example, Android and iOS, or if you are going to keep developing the automation following the same developed language, right? And your platform can have different subsystems on server side. And for different subsystems, you have to decide the level of your test, right? How you are going to find a good balance, for example, between integration tests, system tests, to isolate each component and make sure that you are checking the quality properly for that subsystem. And then you might have different integrations between each subsystems, and the challenge here is decoupling each integration. And maybe here a good solution here might be discussing with development team if maybe you can develop mocks from the beginning to help your testing these integrations or simulate these integrations during your tests. And obviously, you can have different communication methods between them. You can have like synchronously communication, asynchronous communication. So all these platform items can definitely challenge your automation strategy. So then you have to think about functional and non-functional requirements as well. So for example, you can think about performance testing, right? And you can also maybe think about a game day and apply chaos engineering and understand how your platform will behave during unexpected events as well. And yeah, so you need to think about functional and non-functional requirements. And here it's a simplified example of our architecture. And so as you can see, no. So as you can see, we have different UI interface. And so we have 2 different desktop applications. One is user application, another one admin application. Desktop applications, and we have web and mobile devices accessing our platform. So for example, on our desktop applications, they are developed with Java and Swing. And so our automation framework is using Java as well, and AssertJ and Swing Explorer to map the elements. And we are using Cucumber to translate complex business requirements into automation steps that we can reuse. And on the server side, as we can see, it's a client-server architecture, right? And on server side, we have different subsystems, and they are communicating with each other synchronously and asynchronously as well. And we have a message bus to help the communication between them. And we also have different external sources of data So for example, we receive news and quotes from external sources. And this platform actually is being challenged by new integrations with external service. So for example, the login itself, now we have new integrations with this new login, and so this is challenging our not only the integration itself, but the automation itself, right? So this is our trading platform, our desktop application. So you can see that our functional QA team, they have a big challenge here, right? To test all these features, and you can see the benefits of automating as much as possible, right? And now I'd like to cover another aspect, which is how your automation strategy can consider or how you can consider the quality process to define your automation strategy, actually. So you might be affected by development and quality culture, or the development life cycle, or how is the release and planning cycle organized. So all this culture, they are related with the quality process, and they might affect your automation strategy when you are defining it. So I think the first step is defining the right moment to start automating your features. So for example, if you have your automation team distributed into different agile teams, probably your test scenarios are described during your refinement moments. And so probably you have to understand if the best moment to start automating it is during the feature development, or probably it's better to wait until the feature being stable so you can automate it after being stable. It's important to understand also what is necessary to automate your feature. So I like to use this Scrum concept definition of ready to help automation team to discuss what they feel it's important for them to understand and to automate one test case. So for example, if you're automating backend, for example, or you need to write a test case for an automated test case for an API. So maybe your development team already has the collections, right? So maybe the automation team can declare that if you have this collection, you might be more productive with it. And another important thing, I believe it's really relevant, start selecting test case to cover your critical path. And then keep prioritizing with your backlog by risk. Because I think if you are automating the most important features or the critical ones, probably everyone will trust in your automation from the beginning, because everyone will see that you are delivering value from the beginning. Another thing is, can we identify bugs earlier? How we can set our automation strategy to identify bugs earlier? So you might have known the shift left concept, right? Try to identify bugs as earlier as possible, right? So for example, when we talk more about unit testing, you can think about test-driven development. So you might think about testing even before coding. Or if you think about behavior-driven development, this means that you are thinking about tests from the beginning, even during the specification of your feature. Maybe we can check in test coverage and quality. Maybe we can use mutation testing to check how the unit testing is really, who tests the test, right? And so you can check the quality of your unit test. Or maybe you can define the best moment in your CI/CD process where you can trigger your tests, or even if they can be executed nightly. So for example, if you want to run the entire subset of tests, maybe it's better execute them during the night. So here is an example. It's a real example. You have your features being developed during your sprint or any development process that you're following. And so during the test, after the code being built, you have branch testing. So it means that you are testing the features that are ready actually. And then you can use unit tests. In our case, we have a small subset of backend tests as well. So this means that after commit, we check not only the unit tests, but we have a subset of system tests executed from backend side. And so this means that you have a level of quality. And after the integration moment, so all finished features are merged into a master branch, which receives so every finished ticket. So after this integration to master branch, then we have a nightly backend testing and a nightly front-end testing. So this is not triggered automatically, but so every night we can check if the master branch is okay. And after all this merging process, we have our code freeze, and then we create the release branch. And so we keep running, how can I come back? Yeah. And so we keep running nightly backend testing and nightly front-end testing against the release branch as well. So, and finally, after building and deploying in QA environments, then we have a small subset of backend and front-end tests again, and this small subset is executed against this deployed version just to understand if its integrity, right? So we call it as business acceptance testing. And when the regression starts, then we have system testing, checking all the new features again, and we have the regression testing, obviously. And so again, then during this moment, we run all the subset of tests that we have automated on backend side and on front-end side as well. And finally, when we deploy our release in production, we have a manual validation to understand if the new version is working fine. And we are developing a new health check tool, actually, to check basic use case against this new version to understand if it's okay as well. And actually, we are planning to run this tool every hour or every 2 hours, so we can keep getting data. How is our deployed version? But again, running use case, not just getting metrics from the whole infrastructure, but also checking the use case. Here are some numbers. We have some numbers according to the pyramid concept, right? And we believe that probably our UI test case, we have some opportunities to review them and maybe redesign some of them and make them simple and even distribute them between all the layers. Yeah. Another aspect that I would like to cover tonight is data management. So maybe it's one of the most important topic in fintech, because we are handling with some important information, right? And obviously we cannot use broad information. So we need to find ways to have good data and to run our tests. And it's always underestimated, at least in my opinion. So when we are planning automating something, sometimes we forget to think about how much time we will need to plan our data or to get our data. So unstable test data is, for me at least, is a common cause of unreliable automation. So it's well done, but the data is not that good. And then you cannot trust in your results. So here I brought one example how we are managing and handling our test data in our test case. So for example, for accounts, our first step is defining test data requirements. So again, for example, accounts, we use active accounts, founded accounts, valid user logins. So we think for each test, we think about the data requirements. And once we have these data requirements, then we search them on database based on this parameter. And if you find it, or if you didn't find it actually, then we create this data based on these parameters to execute them on our test. And obviously we identify clearly that this data was generated by us. Once we have this precious data, this precious account, right? Then we lock this data to use only on our test. So this means that this data cannot be used by any other test and actually help us to run them in parallel mode as well, because we can trust that the account will not be used by anyone else. And once we have this account locked, or this data locked by us, then we reset the data just to be ready to that test itself. So for example, for accounts, we can set initial positions, or we can change some parameters. Well, here we are just preparing the data before the test starts. And then finally, we have the test itself, right? Finally, the test starts. But all this preparation, all this data preparation is really important. So it's really important to keep our test stable. Understand this test data pre-requirement is really important to select only valid data, accounts, instruments, or different other type of data that we use in our tests. And if we cannot control all the data that we need in our tests, sometimes we need to define some boundaries just to define some limits where we can control the data, and maybe we can isolate this data, and here we can manage. And on the other side, maybe we need to find a way of, again, isolate it from what we cannot control. And last but not least, some ideas about source code management. So I believe it's important automate your test case using same platform language. And version your automation code in the same repository as your platform code. Because I think if you follow these 2 steps, you can reinforce knowledge transfer between development and automation teams. And probably you reinforce all libraries and components reusage as well. Do careful code review. I think it's really important defining and respecting policies and best practices. And actually, I think it's a good opportunity to learn more about your features or how your team is finding solutions for their challenge. So it's really good for learning purpose as well. And use design patterns to overcome known challenges. for example, page objects, right? So I know there is always a debate about page objects, but it's better using page objects, right, than don't use anything. So just quickly recap, we went through considering how is important considering your architecture and the challenge that we have defining automation strategy based on your current architecture. How is challenging as well defining your automation strategy based in your quality process. Data management. If you can control your data, or if you have a good strategy for your data, probably you will have reliable results as well. And source code, how is important taking care of your source code and make sure it's reliable as well, following clean code policies, best practices, and so on. So I've shared my automation challenge, and now I'd like to know which automation challenge are you facing right now?